And this is the clerk. Welcome to the first Auditor General Committee of Friday, December the 11th. As clerk of the meeting, I am opening the meeting and starting with roll call. Councillor Fry.
Here.
Councillor Hardwick.
Present.
Councillor Wiebe.
Present.
Councillor Bly.
Present.
Councillor Kirby-Yung.
Present.
Okay, the meeting has quorum. The first item of business is for the committee to elect a chair and a vice chair for the Auditor General Committee. Following the election, the new elected chair will continue with the remainder of today's agenda. I shall pass over the gavel, as they say. Members of the committee are now invited to comment on the selection of a chair and vice chair by placing themselves on the queue. And I see Councillor Hardwick is on the queue. I shall advance you.
Thank you very much, Clerk. I have submitted a motion. If you could share it, please, on the screen. And that is, should they choose to accept that Councillor Fry be named as chair and Councillor Kirby-Yung as vice chair. As you know, I am chairing the recruitment committee and Councillor Bly is the vice chair of the recruitment committee. From the beginning, this undertaking of establishing an office of the Auditor General for the City of Vancouver has been a collaborative effort and an initiative of Council. And in the interest of advancing as strongly as possible this initiative going forward, I feel that the distribution of the chair and vice chair roles among the committee members is the best course of action. So therefore, my motion and my recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Hardwick.
I'd like to second. If
Well,
we need a second.
No, it's the clerk here. We are in standing committee, so we do not require a seconder.
Thank you.
But if I may continue with the floor, with those nominations and motion, could I ask if Councillor Fry would accept the nomination?
Yes, thank you, Clerk. I would be pleased and honored to accept the nomination. Thank you, Councillor Hardwick.
Thank you. And Councillor Kirby-Yung, would you accept the nomination for Vice Chair?
Yes, Madam Clerk, I will.
Okay. If there's any further discussion, could you please put yourself on the queue? I see Councillor Kirby-Yung on the queue. I shall advance you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to acknowledge Councillor Hardwick and thank her for her grace in putting this forward. She really has been the tour de force behind the Auditor General initiative, bringing forward the original motion, but far more than that, because the motion is obviously significant in flagging the need for this and the benefits that it would bring to the City of Vancouver. But more than that, she's done an incredible amount of work behind the scenes in terms of legwork and meeting with past Auditor Generals in different jurisdictions and bringing the informal working group together and reaching out and just doing a lot of research and preparation for the meetings, including the presentations that we'll be utilizing. We've used last week for the recruitment committee, we'll be utilizing today. And so I know she's put a lot of hours and a lot of part into this, and I just wanted to acknowledge the work that she has done in getting this off the ground. Thank you.
Next on the queue, I have Councillor Bly. Please proceed.
Yes, thank you. Likewise, and Councillor Kirby-Yung said quite pretty much took the words out of my mouth, very articulate in that Colleen championing this this effort around the Auditor General office has been tireless and has been inclusive and collaborative. And I am very, very happy to be serving on this committee with Councillor Hardwick and under the leadership of Councillor Fry as chair and Councillor Kirby-Young as vice chair. And I do think that at times we get to take different roles. But I believe Colleen's astute eye is best served as a member of the committee, where you can push where you need to and inform where you need to and educate. And while the chairs remain quite, oftentimes have to remain quite impartial at times and manage all the differing opinions. So I hope that this continues to be the work of that the work of this committee continues to be informed by how it started, which was with Councillor Hardwick's commitment and vision. So look forward to serve, and we'll be supporting the recommendations.
Thank you, Councillor Bly. I see no further members on the queue, so I shall call the vote on screen, please. Okay. And that is unanimous. And so over to you, Chair Fry.
Thanks, Clerk. And I don't have a script, so I'm going to wing it, but I do want to begin as chair by also acknowledging all the work that Councillor Hardwick has done to get us here. And I certainly, actually small shoes, but probably big shoes to follow. And I really do appreciate all the work that's done. I'm glad that we have this really great group from council that will be shepherding this work and working collaboratively. And in the role of chair, I'm very looking forward to working with all of you and improving the. Oh, I just got a note from the clerk that I have a script waiting for me. Excuse me while
Chair Fry?
Yeah.
You should be finding it in your email.
Was that just sent?
We're just sending it to you now.
Oh, okay. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Sorry, folks, bear with me. But I really do want to highlight all the work of Councillor Hardwick to get us here. It's been an incredible amount of work that that I think few of us would have the tenacity to complete. And she has done a phenomenal job. So this is the beginning of a significant new chapter in the city of Vancouver. So thank you, Councillor Hardwick. Okay, so I'm just going through my script. Okay, from the script. Thank you, Clerk, and good afternoon, committee members. This committee meeting is being convened by electronic means as authorized under the order of the Minister of Public Safety and the Solicitor General for the Province of British Columbia, Emergency Program Act, updated Ministerial Order number M192. As such, committee members are participating by phone. Please note, if my connection is lost during any portion of this meeting, we will recess the meeting until my connection is restored. If committee members lose connection during the voting process, we have staff on hand to facilitate getting you back online quickly while we suspend the voting process. The contact information has been circulated to you. The live stream of this meeting will now have both audio and video. Video of committee members speaking, presentations, amendments, and vote results will be projected to viewers when available. Committee members are also reminded that we need to ensure that there is quorum during the meeting, so make sure your video is enabled. We acknowledge that we are on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people, and we thank them for having cared for this land and look forward to working with them in partnership as we continue to build this great city together. I also want to take a moment to recognize the immense contributions of the City of Vancouver staff who work hard every day to help make our city an incredible place to live, work, and play. So the plan for the remainder of the day, I'll go over the rest of the agenda. Speakers can follow along on Twitter at Van City Clerk for updates on the progress of the meeting so they won't miss their turn to speak. Any comments on agenda items can be sent to committee using the web form on the city's website. The link to that form will be tweeted out on the Twitter Van City Clerk account. We have 3 remaining items of business on today's agenda: a motion to go in camera, 1 communication memo, and 1 report, if not adopted on consent. We will begin with the motion to go in camera later this week, followed by consent items that have no speakers. A reminder that when
Oh, sorry.
Sure. I was just going to say a reminder when presentations are being streamed, the public live feed has a slight delay. The committee is required to meet in camera later this week. The reasons and authority under the Vancouver Charter are listed in the agenda. I was about to ask if somebody would like to move, but Councillor Hardwick has moved the motion to go into camera later this week. All those in favor, please say yay.
Yay.
Any opposed, say nay. The motion carries unanimously. Consent items. As chair for the meeting, I'm suggesting for items that have no speakers, no presentations, or consideration items, we adopt the recommendations collectively in a single motion. We have item 2 on the consent agenda for consideration. Does any member wish to declare a conflict of interest on the consent item? No conflicts. Okay. We need a motion to adopt the recommendations contained in item 2.
Motion to.
Yeah.
Okay, I heard Kirby Young. All those in favor say yay.
Yay.
Opposed say nay. Okay, the following has been approved on consent. And that would be the approval of Auditor General Committee meeting dates. And clerk, do I have to read those dates out? I guess I will.
It is the clerk here, Chair Fry, and no, that is not necessary. They were published and distributed.
Great, thank you. I am having a difficult time understanding this part of my script. Sorry, bear with me, folks.
Chair Fry, if you just skip over to 6B.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, next is the approval of terms of reference for External Auditor General Committee. We have Kelly Oschlanger from the legal department available on the line to answer questions. Committee members, are there any questions to staff? And put yourself on the queue if you have any questions of Mr. Oschlager. I do not see any questions.
Move the recommendation.
Clerk, do we have speakers?
Yes, I was just going to jump in, Chair Fry. We do have one speaker, so if we could, if there's no questions to staff at this point, that would be the next step.
Sure. So before we begin to hear from speakers, I would like to note the following. I'd like to remind speakers that they have 5 minutes to make their comments and may only speak once. Committee members may ask questions of speakers for up to 3 minutes following their presentation. However, speakers are under no obligation to respond. The public is strongly urged to listen to the proceedings via the city's website or YouTube link and follow along on Twitter at VanCityClerk on the progress of the meeting. Any comments on agenda items can be sent to the committee using the web form on the city's website. The link to that form has been tweeted out at VanCityClerk. And so our first speaker, our first speaker is Carol Bellringer, CEO and President of the Canadian Audit and Accountability Foundation. Ms. Bellringer.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. It's my first time doing it over the phone, so thank you so much for this opportunity. It is a pleasure to catch up with you today, and of course, also my pleasure to represent the Canadian Audit and Accountability Foundation. So I thought I would take this opportunity just to touch base with you, mostly in case you had any questions for me about the Canadian Audit and Accountability Foundation report that you've all certainly seen. So there are. I see the slides in the background. I've got the screen up on my computer, and I'm not going to actually go through anything in the first slide or the second slide. I'm assuming someone at that end controls the roll forward. So if you could just move straight through them, to the roadmap. I did want to congratulate all of you on your progress to date. And I see from, it's about the third slide in, third or fourth.
No, we're there. Thank you. The roadmap.
Oh, okay, thank you. I see you're somewhere between steps 4 and 5 now. So you've already put your dates out for your meetings, which is really a great, it may feel administrative, but it's actually a really good practice along that roadmap. And you can skip through the who we are too. I think you already know who the foundation is by now. You know, don't underestimate the hard work you have ahead of you. But getting to this point is something that you should be proud of. So once you do have an Auditor General in place, and you're actually into the exercising oversight part. These are diagrams that were taken out of the Foundation's report, and they were already used by the informal working group in your previous presentation. So I'm not bringing you any new information here, but you are along a very important part of the pathway and quite near the end of it, quite frankly, in terms of the steps to get there. The recruitment that you have coming up is an important step. And the real work of the audit committee would be what you have to do once you have the auditor in place, you have a plan for that, the audits coming up, and then you now have audit reports to review. So at that point, you'll be calling witnesses to speak to the action plans to fix any of the problems identified in the audit reports. And I'm not going to take up much of your time here. I did want to just make myself available to you, and I'll leave you with the one comment that and it's not a sales pitch as much as it is a support pitch. The Foundation has a lot of reference material. It's all available on our website to the public, to everybody, and we regularly present workshops to assist oversight bodies. We were, in fact, at the House of Commons Public Accounts Committee earlier this week. It was called Demystifying the Public Accounts. I'm not sure, they're a complex set of financial statements, so I'm hoping that we help them. And that's just one example of many of the workshops that we do. So I am looking forward to continuing to watch your progress, and I'm happy to support your work. So that's my full presentation.
Thanks, Ms. Bellringer. You do have questions from Councillor Hardwick.
Thank you very much. Clerk, you took down that slide deck kind of too quickly. If I'd like to go back to one of those slides, if that's possible, the second to last one. Hoping that we can go back there. So thank you very much, Ms. Bellringer, for all your help and support. You know, this is the inaugural meeting of the Auditor General Committee, so it is an important milestone, and we are at the stage where we just had our first recruitment committee meeting and are just working out the logistics. It's still going to be some months away before we have an Auditor General and start to lay out the plan. But at the point where in this diagram, we have us recruiting and training staff and determining audit practices, standards, and office policies. Could you elaborate a little bit more on what kind of support we might be able to get from you? Because we're clearly going to have to bring ourselves both at this committee level and at the staff level and intersecting with our regular staff. Will you be able to help us with that?
So the one I'm not going to say yes or no because it depends what that would be. The kinds of practices that we're talking about would be things that would normally be put in place by the Auditor General themselves. Because it does get into which audit standards are they going to choose to follow. There are some choices to be made. And then even within the kind of software and hardware that they need to support the methodology, that too will depend on the kind of standards they choose to apply. So there is quite a bit of input you'll need from the Auditor General as soon as that person is appointed. I did have some contact back and forth with some of the people putting individual budgets together, and they are able to look at it at a fairly global and broad perspective around the kinds of things they're going to need to consider. We had not done work on that in any specific way, but I just knew about it, so I was able to share with them some information. I'm always happy to do that in an informal way, but you will need the Auditor General there to really get that one done right.
What about this committee and our council members? Might there be an opportunity for a briefing or something on that would be helpful to this group?
So it feels like perhaps what might be helpful, and I mean you certainly can consider what your where you want that to go to, and I'm happy to consult with you about what we would be able to assist with. We could explain what those various options are so that there's a better understanding around why it is that you can't just go and get it and hand it to an auditor. That there's a bit of a detailed explanation about why I'm saying that. And I do know that across Canada, at the federal, provincial, and municipal level, auditors general apply their work, do their work in different ways. And the kinds of databases they're using, the kinds of software they're using, the methodology usually goes into some sort of an audit manual, and it is important for the Auditor General to decide which one they're going to use, and they will have to be involved.
That's very much appreciated.
We could give you something.
Okay, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hardwick. Next, I have questions from Councillor Wiebe.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming to speak to us today. My first question is on I looked at your diagram, it talks about putting the pieces to place. How do we work with our staff currently and some of the amazing work they've done in auditing to incorporate into this work? So how do we incorporate our staff as part of this process of putting the pieces in place?
So thank you, Councillor. The integration between what the Auditor General's office is doing and one of the staff groups would be internal audit, other staff groups would be human resources, and other support groups within, like getting infrastructure in place and so on. There is that caution that we point out in the report, and just to repeat that it is the groups are independent. The Auditor General does have to ultimately have the independence to choose as to how they're going to proceed and which audits they're going to do and so on. I think a lot of that coordination takes place again after you've got someone in the seat, so that they can figure out what's working for them and what's not working for them. They will have the opportunity to have that dialogue with the audit committee on an ongoing basis if they're having any complications going forward, and if not, to give you that assurance that it's all working fine. I don't see a lot that would be necessary to do ahead of the appointment. I know that they've been looking at putting the budgets together so that you have something reasonable going into the budget before you have an individual who's going to present you with the Auditor General themselves presenting you with their precise, fine-tuned budget for approval. So I think those are appropriate steps in the meantime. At a high level, the committee could look at what the estimates are to just say, yeah, okay, that makes sense, or understand where it's starting from. But that final detail would be very important to have the Auditor General there. I hope did that answer your question?
Well, I'm thinking like our intensive legal team and other teams that we have in the City of Vancouver, are there elements and work that they could do to help support this transition? Is kind of what I'm talking about, is like what are,
sure.
Right, we're at the building blocks, we're putting things together. So like our real estate team and other teams, like what are we able to do?
Point of information.
You need to have the floor to have point of information.
Yeah, let's just let Councillor Wiebe get through, and if that's okay.
It was information for Councillor Wiebe that Ms. Bellringer wouldn't know, but I can respond afterwards.
Sure. Please continue with your, Mr. Wiebe.
Yeah, so I was just wondering if there's that type of support right now, recognizing that we're trying to ensure that we get this off and going as kind of robust and make sure that this is the Auditor General Office that we really want to have happen. So what are we able to do to kind of prepare before someone's hired is kind of what my question was.
So appreciating from the perspective of what I have seen, I certainly have seen any of the documents like the structure for your committees and so on that legal office has been involved with. So that's been something I've seen that looked. I can't think of anything big like that from what I would be expecting to see that I'm saying you haven't touched yet. The next step would be something for the Auditor General themselves, and I would recommend if you're using an external recruiting firm to do the appointment, they can help you with some of the details around just putting that into a job description format, for example, so that you can recruit appropriately.
Okay, thank you so much for coming to speak today.
Thank you,
Councillor Wiebe, and thank you, Ms. Bellringer, for joining us today. Councillor Hardwick, did you want to get on the queue for a point of information still?
I'm not sure how to do this exactly, but I just wanted to point out that the informal working group, Councillor Wiebe was not on the informal working group and might not know that we have worked with real estate and technology and legal to this point and have laid out a path subject to the recruitment of the Auditor General. So a lot of that work has been ongoing, which is we probably need to communicate some updates on that. But that was contained in the November report. The fact that you may recall that real estate and technology were supposed to report back by November 30th. They did, and a brief memo was distributed to staff on those points. That's all.
Yeah, and that's very helpful.
Okay, thank you both. I'm going to move us along then. Thanks to Ms. Bellringer, our speaker, and the questions. Committee, is there somebody prepared to move the motion and we can get into discussion?
Move the recommendation, Councillor Kirby-Yung.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Kirby-Yung. Is there any discussion? I see nobody on the queue, so we can call a vote. All in favor, say yay.
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 Opposed? Okay, that carries. Clerk, sorry, I see on the notes, I didn't have to run a voting system on this, did we, Clerk?
No, that's fine, Chair Fry.
Okay, well, I believe that is the content of our meeting. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, but I also want to clarify that we have an in-camera portion.
Yeah, I don't see anything on the script. Clerk, can you advise how the in-camera is supposed to work?
It is the clerk here, Chair Fry. And yes, the meeting would in fact adjourn, and following adjournment, you will be going in camera. And if I could ask you to stay on the WebEx, it'll be the same WebEx for the in-camera.
I have a point of order.
Sure.
Or perhaps a point of procedure.
Councillor Black.
Since we are all together and we've finished our business, are we able to go in camera earlier than 2 o'clock? Say now.
Clerk, can we facilitate a rapid turnover to in camera?
Chair Fry, if I can interrupt.
Please.
Yes, we can certainly convene in camera right now. The staff are ready to do so.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn, and we will reconvene in camera. That motion to adjourn was moved by Councillor Hardwick. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. This meeting's adjourned. Stay on the WebEx, and we will be reconvening in camera.
Council, if you can give us 5 minutes, that would be fantastic.
Great.
Same WebEx link.
That's correct.
Yes, same WebEx.
Thank you.